Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Minig. I am the host of the Behavioral Health Integration Podcast. Today we'll be talking about arms work and CTSS, poor management. Now this is based on a particular event where a supervisor handled the situation very unprofessionally and did not make the best judgment in handling the overall situation. And I will explain the scenario, what we could have done better, and what I felt was right and not right. So, here we go. For those of you that do not remember what CTSS stands for, it is Children's Therapeutic Services and Supports. Now, in this particular situation, it involved a, let's say, 14-year-old child. And again, you always want to be aware of HIPAA protection when it comes to people, places, and names and everything. So I'll do my best to be respectful of that. But for the sake of argument, let's just assume that in this scenario, which again was true, was a 14-year-old boy. Now, in this scenario, I was about to take over this client from another CTSS worker. Now, when I was getting trained in, I attended a couple of their sessions before, so I was vaguely familiar with Boy and everything, and his name and his overall situation which was not a very good one. Just little information about the whole family systems and environment. This 14-year-old lived with his mother in an apartment. I forgot which city it was in. And they had a random guy living in their living room. And I believe this was the friend of the mother. I think the mom was, I guess, a house cleaner as a profession. And the random man living in the living room, I guess, formerly lived in the apartment complex, and I guess he got kicked out or evicted or whatever. So the boy's mom apparently was a friend, I guess, or whatever, wanted to help him out. So she had him living in his living room. So anyways, don't get me started on that one. So not the best really living situation for the child. Really not. It was actually horrendous, but and actually that man has somewhat to do with this story. Now, the story or the situation scenario involved, again, her transferring the client to me, so it was more of a trade-off session. So she was going to do one more session with him, and then moving forward, he'd be my client and everything, right? So we get into the living room and we begin the session. Now, on this day, the mother was not there, and which is a no-no, and I'll tell you a little bit later on how that was a no-no. But so as the session was going on, I think we were playing a board game, whatever. This random gentleman walks to the sliding door and starts knocking on the sliding door, and he gets the kid come over to him, and I guess he asked for the gentleman's name, who again lived in the living room, and that gentleman was not there that day. So the random dude who knocked on the sliding door, I guess he called that gentleman up, and was just asking him where was he, because he wanted to get some stuff from him, right? So again, me and my female coworker are just kind of watching all this unravel. It was a little nerve-wracking. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty nerve-wracking because you really don't know what's going on, and you don't know what kind of danger might come up in a situation like this. So moving on, he gets a hold of the man, and they're talking, and he puts the gentleman on the speakerphone, the gentleman who lives in the living room. And he tells the kid to go to his drawer and get the stuff. So I was just like, oh shit, what could that possibly like mean? Get the stuff or whatever. Because it seems like they might have done this routine a couple times before, you know? So, you know, the boy goes into the drawer and everything, and he gets some pills, you know, a container of pills. You know, we don't at first know what these pills are. They are prescription related, though, so you can't get them over the counter. And he walks up to the guy with the bottle of pills, and through the speakerphone, he tells the kid, you know, give him like a handful. So he pours a handful of pills in this random dude's hands, and they exchange for $10, you know. And then he puts the pills away, whatever, and then boom, like that's it. Scenario is over, right? And I was more just kind of like in shock because when this situation was going down, you have to remember he wasn't really my client at this point. And at the back of my head, I'm like, okay, this isn't right. This isn't okay. What the hell? Should I be doing anything? You know what I mean? It's just really weird and crazy. And I look over to my fellow coworker, and she just wasn't doing anything. And I'm just like, what the heck? Why are you know, what's going on? Why are you kind of intervening? You know? But at the same time, I definitely understand why she was kind of in shock, because obviously I did the same thing. But again, it was more her client. But anyways, so when that exchange was over, which let's just call it how it is, it was a drug deal, you know? Let's just be honest, and it was a straight up drug deal. You know, and again, later we found out too, it was a minor pain relief medication. I don't know if it was like, it was like a nerve ending pain relief medication. But again, it's still, you need a prescription. It wasn't over the counter, so I think it might have been like a Schedule 2 or 3 narcotic, but still, straight up drug deal. Anyway, you know. So again, we're getting back to the situation. We're just kind of both in shock, and you know, we're both telling the kid, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that anymore. And does your mom know that you've been doing stuff like this? And I don't think the mom knew. She might have known. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think she would have cared too much, if you want to really keep it real. And so, again, we pretty much let him know, hey, you know, it's not a good idea. You shouldn't be doing this anymore. And that was that, and we ended the session. And yeah, I don't really know what to think, because I know what happened was really wrong. And I'm not gonna lie, there is a part of me that feels like, wow, like you should have at least done something, you know, because deep down you know what's going on is wrong. But again, you gotta take safety into precaution, or safety in mind when it comes to this. So a day or two goes by, and I run into like one of the supervisors. It wasn't like the CTSS supervisor that would be involved in this. She's more of like an administration lady. And I told her about the scenario, because I just felt like I had to like tell somebody at least. Now again, this is like a day or two before the incident, and she's like, wow, that's not okay what happened. You know, you should probably call child protection and call the state, and definitely inform the CTSS supervisor of the whole situation, which the next day I did, and I informed her about it, and she was shocked. She's like, oh wow, I can't believe like this happened. And then I'm like, yeah, you know, it was a really tough situation. And then she's like, did you tell like his therapist, who was a social worker at the company? And I'm like, no, we'll tell him or whatever. So, again, he was informed of the situation. So, the next day, me and my fellow coworker, we got a very long email from the CTSS supervisor regarding the situation. And this was the most unprofessional thing a supervisor or manager of any kind can do. It was a horrendous email. Absolutely horrendous, and I'll get into it right now. And she made it very long. It was like a 4 to 5 bullet point paper. You know, again, I want to say email, but it was just a very long email on pretty much everything that she felt like we did wrong in that situation, a scenario that she was not even involved in. And I remember one of the early bullet points was that something should have been done right away regarding that situation. So I'm sure she's talking about a situation where the drug dealer asked this child for drugs from the guy who lived in the living room, right? So imagine that scenario right now in your heads. And she's saying that we should have done something to intervene in that act, right? And then the second bullet point involved her saying that even though, I know we don't have training on this, so we need to have training on this, something still should have been done in that situation, right? So, I would really love to ask her what should have been done, in her opinion, okay? What would she have done in that situation or scenario to put her life at risk? I really want to know that. That was just absolute crap. Extremely unprofessional, horrendous management on her part. And then the third bullet point went on to saying that the therapist should have been notified right away, and this was just a very negative situation, and then yada, 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 something should have been done. So if you really look into it, she very well contradicted herself. 110% contradicted herself. All right? And like early on, she's like, even though you guys don't have training in this situation, something should have been done. Well, what? What if we have not had training on it? That's what I want to know. Very unprofessional and toxic of her. And all I can say is that I really hope she learned from that experience, but I can guarantee you she probably hasn't. And we just need to try to move on, but it's just that there's horrendous management in this field. 110%. And she is one of them. Now, again, I don't want to spend this whole episode just bashing her and saying what she did wrong. We have to think of solutions, scenarios. So now really looking at the situation further, I really feel that me and my coworker did the right thing. I really do. The best thing to do in a situation like that is just to monitor just our safety, the child's safety in that exchange, because we don't know what would have happened. Like if I were to intervene and told the guy, oh no, you can't have your pain meds, this is against the law, whatever. We don't know how that would have gone down. It could have gone down okay, or it could have gone down very badly. I don't know if that man has a knife, gun, or any type of weapon. So then I would be putting myself at danger and the child at danger. And I don't think that's right. I know that is not right. So I disagree with my supervisor at that time and that we did the right thing. And I regret not, in a way, standing up for myself. I really do. I regret not challenging that therapist and her on the situation. Condemning us or shaming us like we didn't do anything wrong. To put ourselves and our lives at risk for something like that. Absolutely horrendous on both their parts. Okay? This field needs to do a better job at supervising their coworkers. Absolutely horrendous. Now, looking at that situation, they say, okay, yeah, more training needs to be done. Well, you could think possibly, but according to the rules too, you are not allowed to do a CTSS session without a parent in the room. And I guess my coworker for a while has just been doing the sessions like anyways without the mom being there. So if we were actually following the rules, we would not have even done the session in the first place. Not at all. And then that whole situation would have been avoided. It's just so funny because the more I think about the situation, the more I shouldn't have said anything. It almost would have been better if I would not have said anything, because we wouldn't have had all this drama and issues with the supervisor, because they wouldn't have known about it, the mom wouldn't have cared, and life would have went on. But I did, because I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I still feel like it's the right thing to do. Looking further down in the story, the mom actually got really upset and dropped services with us. And that it was just due to, I guess, her anger and frustration, because she just thought it was completely stupid that we even did that. It caused more issues than anything. And yada, yada, yada. She pulled their child out of the program. And I eventually did make the report to CPS, and I guess what they told me was nothing's really going to be done about it. They explained to me that this happens all the time, regarding the pills and the drug deal stuff. They said at most they would have probably sent a worker down there and just explained to the child and the man living in the living room that, just don't do this again. It's against the law. Let's just try not to do this again. And that's that. But that's the most that would have happened in that situation. Now I want to throw out some ideas on how the supervisor could have done a better job at handling the situation in a more professional manner. Now, I understand how when she looked at the situation, she could have got really just upset and angry just at the danger that the child was possibly put in. And she could have internalized it, and that's what caused her anger and that unprofessional email. Now, if I was a supervisor looking at the situation, I would only hope to look at the facts, all right? The child is safe. My workers under me are safe. That's the most important thing right now, rather than putting blame on the workers for not stopping the situation. Have an understanding that, okay, everyone is safe right now. How did this happen? How often does this normally happen in this setting at the apartment? It makes you really think, what danger is the child in? And then I would have talked to the workers, or the CTSS workers, and just ask them, why was the session even done? Because the parent wasn't there. So again, I would just tell them, hey, thank God we're all safe. You guys are safe. The child is safe. How often do you think this happens? I would also get the mom on board. And again, really get into moving forward. We can only do sessions when the parent is there. Now, would that have changed anything? I don't know. I don't know if the mom knows this type of behavior or had an awareness of this type of behavior, if it was going on or how often it was going on. Again, I'm sure she uses the gentleman as a babysitter too when she's out. So it wouldn't surprise me if stuff like this goes on all the time. And I would just go from there and, again, inform the mom, hey, we can't have this behavior. It's putting your child at risk. And I would move on from there rather than getting upset with my workers that they didn't intervene in a very dangerous situation. And another variable to be aware of is, of course, the random gentleman living in the living room. Obviously that's not a healthy situation for the child to be in. But again, legally, there's nothing we can really do about that. I don't think CPS would do anything to get the gentleman out. The mom's just trying to help a friend. And there's a lot to just consider in that situation. Now, again, some mental health workers or case managers would look at that situation and not think it's a big deal that that guy is living in the living room, where I am just one of those workers that do think it's a big deal. And the gentleman should at least be making efforts to trying to move out, get a job or whatever. But he just really isn't, other than selling his pills for $10 a handful, But again, it's always very interesting to hear other healthcare professionals' insights into that situation, where some will actually have an empathetic approach to the man in the living room and the mom, because times are just tough and people do what they can to just make it. One time I was getting some consultation, well, not really consultation, but more just feedback on the scenario. And maybe she just, again, uses that guy for a babysitter or whatever when she's out of town. So he provides some type of service, even though he's not paying rent. And he could be doing other things for the mom. We just don't know. So again, it's just an overall tough situation. And it's just a mom trying to make ends meet. So yeah, that's just one way to look at it. I personally don't look at it that way. But again, we can have disagreements with one another in this field, and it's okay. So Anyways, I just want to say thank you to everyone and all my listeners for all the feedback you have all been giving me. It's been really helping me become a better podcaster. And again, I appreciate all of you for being just great supporters and listeners to my podcast. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Again, I just want to inform everyone the information or content expressed in this episode is not meant to be taken as therapeutic advice or interventions. If you feel that you're having mental health addiction issues, please seek the help of a medical doctor or a mental health professional. All right, everyone, thank you and have a good day. Bye.